Hello and welcome back to the King James Bible Sunday School channel on YouTube and Rumble, and to our day-by-day devotional this year, going through the checkbook of the Bank of Faith by Charles Spurgeon, um, and we're in December. The checkbook of the Bank of Faith, or Faith's checkbook, and today is December the 5th, 2025, December 5th, 2025, and Whitaker House's uh, title for today is High Places of Defense. High Places of Defense. Before we go into the devotional, let's go to our daily Bible reading schedules. First, our yearly schedule from John Butler. And today's reading is 2 Corinthians chapters 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. 2 Corinthians chapters 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And then on tomorrow will be Galatians, the whole book of Galatians, which is 6 chapters. Galatians chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That gets us through the Bible in 1 year. And then we have our 6-month schedule, which is our second one for this year, by the way. I don't say that a lot, but we did do the schedule. Essentially the same one. It might be slightly different for some reason or another, but I'm pretty sure I just kind of moved it, and uh, I'm not 1,000% sure because we're off by a day being perfectly even. So anyway, however we did it, I'd have to go back and do a bunch of little calculations, uh, but it's pretty close. Anyway, we've gone through the Bible. At least with our schedules. If you haven't followed the schedule, that's okay. But um, I'd love to hear yours if you have something different. But anyway, today's reading in our 6-month schedule will be Jeremiah chapters 49 and 50 and 51, verses 1 through 31. Yeah, 31. And then Hebrews chapter 7, verses 11 through 28. Hebrews chapter 9, Hebrews chapter 8, and then Hebrews chapter 9, verses 1 through 14. So Jeremiah 49, 50, and 51, verses 1 through 31. Then Hebrews chapter 7, verses 11 through 28, and Hebrews 8, and Hebrews 9, verses 1 through 14. Now, I tried to leave that just completely alone. You can alter things that are broken up by chapters to make it a little bit more even. Like you can do all of Hebrews chapter 9 tomorrow, along with the rest of the reading tomorrow. And for some people, it'll make it that much easier. Some people don't want to do it more precise and get the minutes down a little closer, I guess. A little closer. Anyway, tomorrow's reading would be Jeremiah chapter 51, verses 32 through 64, and then Jeremiah 52. That finishes up Jeremiah, and then Lamentations chapter 1. Then the New Testament will be Hebrews chapter 9, verse 15 through 28, and chapter 10 of Hebrews. So if you were keeping the chapters together, it'd be Hebrews 9 and 10 instead of part of one day, etc. Anyway, Jeremiah chapter 51, verses 32 through 64. Jeremiah 52 also. Lamentations chapter 1. Hebrews 9, 15 through 28, and Hebrews chapter 10. Then we have our 3-month schedule, and today's reading is going to be 2 Corinthians chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. 2 Corinthians chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8. In the Old Testament, be Proverbs chapter 29 through Ecclesiastes 8. Proverbs 29 through Ecclesiastes chapter 8. Finish up Proverbs. That's 31 chapters, 29 through 31. Ecclesiastes 1 through 8. And then tomorrow will be 2 Corinthians chapters 9, 10, and 11. 2 Corinthians 9, 10, and 11. Then the Old Testament, Ecclesiastes 9 through Isaiah chapter 4. Ecclesiastes chapter 9 through Isaiah 4. Or Ecclesiastes 9 through 12, then Song of Solomon chapters 1 through 8, and Isaiah chapters 1 through 4. And that again goes through the New Testament and the Old Testament optionally if you want to, in 3 months. And I think it's fairly easy to do that with the New Testament, getting through it in 3 months. Um, hmm. And we've done before, I think, a couple of times maybe. 6 months through the Old Testament and through the New Testament twice. Maybe we only did that once. So there's a variety of ways that this can be done, and it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty easy, most of the time anyway, to get through the New Testament in 3 months. It's not that difficult. I'm trying to remember I'm pretty sure you can find James Earl Jones reading through the entire New Testament. But the New Testament, I may be just remembering this from something else. So I don't want to say it wrong. But there's this number in my mind of 27 hours, but it doesn't seem right. Like that's the right number to get through the New Testament. But I think that's wrong because I think I'm just remembering, the number of books. And that's just throwing me off because I have this like feeling that I've seen James Earl Jones reading of the New Testament somehow is approximately 13 to 18 hours, something like that. But either way, it's not too far, from each other there. But like I said, it doesn't sound right, really, to be 27 hours. It would just be a little bit too much. But if you think of 15 minutes a day, 3 months is how long it takes to get through the New Testament, essentially. I haven't seen any of these readings. They're between 9 and 15 minutes a day. I haven't seen any of them go over 15 minutes at all. Maybe a few seconds, but not much. At a regular reading pace. So it's pretty easy. Again, if you're reading just twice that, you're getting through like a half an hour a day. It's a month and a half you get through the Bible. New Testament. I'm talking about New Testament. I apologize. New Testament. You know. So take that for what you will. It just there's not that much to it, and unfortunately, there are too many people. I think I kind of ramble. I'm going to be rambling too much on this. I don't want to do it right now. I really don't. I want to get to the devotional. But I don't want you to be discouraged. I want you to get encouraged. If you are one of those people, like I did a number of times, where I started reading the Bible in Genesis and I just was going through and I get stuck somewhere, whether it was somewhere later in Genesis or into the Exodus or Leviticus or Numbers, or, there's a number of places that are easy to get stuck and just feel like you're failing, and so you give up. And then you have this sense or this idea for some reason you got started over again because you want to go through the Bible. That's your determination. I'm going to go through the Bible. So you start Genesis again and then you quit somewhere. And then you start Genesis again and you quit. And he's like, I've read it enough. But you don't read through. You don't get past where you were. You come back years later when you finally gotten over whatever was holding you up in that thought, whatever held me up in the thought, that I had to start over all the time, even though I got a lot of other scripture at different times. But I said, well, let me just start in Matthew and read through the New Testament, and you do that, and it's like, wow, this says this here in this place, and I haven't been reading that because I've been stuck with my stopping and starting issues. Uh, yeah, you know, but if you're going to not read, straight through the Bible, make sure you're in the Bible in other ways, studies and other helps and other things that get you through the Word of God, preaching, reading just a book at a time or something like that. You may not be familiar with certain things and how um, some quotations that are found in the Old Testament are alluded to in the New with uh, all your marginal notes don't mention it and stuff like that. But you're like, I read that over here, you know, because I was yeah, just going through and made a determination I was going to make it. Um, and make this determination too. If you don't make it, just start back up wherever you need to keep going through. All right, don't try to start over again. Uh, don't necessarily start where you stopped. Get somewhere where you can keep going, and then make up the rest of it another time. It'll happen. And if you get in a good habit of reading the Bible, if you get the good habit of reading through the Bible, uh, it makes it just that much easier for you to do so. I remember my grandfather saying that I forget how many years he did this too, but I would see him. He would come out, read the Bible at his uh, table, uh, dinner table, basically, and um, and he would sit down to read it, and I don't know exactly how I did it, and I should have it written down somewhere or somewhere I can pull up, how I did this. But he would read, and he said every year since being a young man, a young Christian. In fact, he was saved at a very early age, and before he could, well, he may have been able to read, um, and I wouldn't discount him being able to, be fully able to read, but it seems like it was before he was um, a full-on reader. Uh, that in his very early age, that he was reading the Bible, or not reading the Bible when he was saved, and then when he was young, developed the habit of reading the Bible every day, uh, and sitting down to do it, read a devotional, and read. He read a lot of different things. I'm not gonna ramble anymore about this stuff. I'm gonna just say, it, if you develop the habit early and you continue it, you know those things stick with you. It's harder to break habits that you develop when you're young. But anyway, let me get to our devotional today. Um, all right. Today's devotional comes from Isaiah chapter 33, verse 16. Isaiah 33, verse 16. He that dwelleth on high, his place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his waters shall be sure. He shall dwell on high, his place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his waters shall be sure. The man to whom God has given grace to be of blameless life dwells in perfect security. He dwells on high, above the world, out of gunshot of the enemy, and near to heaven. He has high aims and motives, and he finds high comforts and company. He rejoices in the mountains of eternal love, wherein he has his abode. He is defended by munitions of stupendous rock. The firmest things in the universe are the promises and purposes of the unchanging God, and these are the safeguard of the obedient believer. He is provided for by this great promise. Bread shall be given him. As the enemy cannot climb the fort nor break down the rampart, so the fortress cannot be captured by siege and famine. The Lord who rained manna in the wilderness will keep his people in good store, even when they are surrounded by those who would starve them. But what if water should fail? That cannot be. His waters shall be sure. There is a never failing well within the impregnable fortress. The Lord sees that nothing is wanting. Alright, that's the reading. Since I've rambled so much, I'm not going to ramble anymore today. And I'm going to leave you hoping that I can encourage you to be devoted to the Lord every day. Every day, spend some time with Him. Show Him uh, a somewhat, a little bit of reciprocation for His great love toward us, and giving some time to Him and doing what He would have you to do, reading, studying, praying, worshiping Him and adoring Him. Meditate on who He is and what He's done. We'll see you again tomorrow for another day by day devotional. Bye.